at all these people who I don't agree with. Hello and welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. I'm Kim Horcher.
I'm AJ Patel. And Kim, question for you.
Yes.
Do you believe everything you see online?
I definitely don't, and no one should, because
Okay.
there are a lot of perspectives and a lot of stories out there. So, I mean, inside baseball, as we're recording this, we live in LA.
Yes.
And we had some wild events over the weekend, and I'm being very careful of how I'm saying it, but in the most general terms, there is a citizen response, a protest toward ICE raids, and there is a government response to that. Now, depending on where you're getting your story or who's telling the story, it's going to be a little bit different, where some people would say it's peaceful versus it's violent, or they attacked us versus we had to attack them, or,
Sure.
it's very muddy. I mean, you would think that LA is a war zone, the way some people tell it, but in my reality, I would report, no, it is not a war zone. This is how it is being framed by certain individuals with maybe different intentions.
This concept that Kim's talking about is citizen journalism, the topic that we are going to dive into today. The idea of the news coming from individuals on the ground at the scene versus how you would normally consume news through a big media channel. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons, how it kind of came to be, and what it hopefully looks like in 5 years' time. So we'll start with, what is citizen journalism?
I mean, to me, I would call it citizen documenting, because
Okay.
journalism it's a field. It is something you study to do. It is a profession even. And documenting would be, I have a camera
Yeah.
of some sort, and I am documenting what is happening.
And then I'm just posting it like
Yeah,
that.
but you could also present it a certain way or package it a certain way.
Now, I want to give the viewers a kind of a quick reminder of your background
Yeah.
as a journalist. So could you
So-
give us a little
Sure.
light on that?
I actually have a background in standard broadcast journalism. I worked at a local LA TV station. I actually won an Emmy there for breaking news.
Okay.
And I worked as a writer and a producer. I've worked as a reporter and anchor in Orange County, not LA, because
Okay.
LA is the number 2 market. And
Yes.
you don't do that when you're 22. But then I've actually changed gears and become more of an entertainment and video games journalist
Okay,
since.
got
So
it.
it's a different game, I'll tell you that.
So when was the first time you heard about citizen journalism?
Well, it's something that's existed for a long time. I mean, I said off the top, more recently I'm bristling against the term, but it's something that's existed for a long time where, like we were talking earlier about the Zapruder film from the JFK assassination,
Sure.
where it's like this person got footage of this monumental event and it helps us understand how it happened. However, I'm not sure, as we move further and further away and technology changes and intention changes and context changes, would I call this journalism? And the answer is no. I would call it documenting. I would
Sure.
call it observing. I would call it recording. But I don't know if I would call it journalism, because journalism involves gathering information, verifying it, fact checking it,
Sure.
and presenting it in a way that serves the truth above all, and not really, well, look at all these people who I don't agree with. That's not what you should be doing.
So when do you think that it made this massive boom? Was it social media? Was it the smartphone?
It was Facebook.
Oh, really?
It was Facebook.
That's when you think the kind of the wave just started of everyone reporting
I
on
think
their
that's Facebook is largely central
Okay.
to the rise of, let's say, fake news, that term.
own. Sure.
And we've become a lot more polarized as a nation, a people, a world. And I think there are absolutely not necessarily objective truth being served.
I've enjoyed people reporting the news. I understand that there's been a drawback of what to believe and what not to believe. But at the same time, what I think's happened for me over the past 10 years, and I think maybe it's just as you become more of an adult, is like, can I trust that news organization? You know, can I trust this organization that I have grown up to believe that they are going to tell me the truth? And now when you start hearing more about like, okay, they have this agenda or they're also sponsored by this group, it just puts that little doubt in your mind For me personally, where it's like, okay, now I think I'd feel more comfortable in, just a regular person that's either reporting something on the news that's local there that knows the town people versus someone that's coming in from some random state to come report
Well,
on
I mean,
what's
who's
happening.
funding you?
Sure.
That's always been an issue in journalism, which is we have to do our best to abide by the ethics of journalism. But this is also a business. We have to sell ads. And it's just like it changes and it morphs over time to the point where I think, I understand why there would be less trust in this organization. And then there's other groups who are outwardly trying to manipulate the truth to serve a purpose, an interest that is not a public interest. I'll say that.
Has it been proven valuable, or do you think it's taken a step back in journalism? In overall, I guess, documenting / journalism.
I think documenting is valuable.
Okay.
But I think it often gets easily melded and confused for out and out misinformation. I mean, there's going to be so many different intentions when we're looking at this. There could be well-intentioned, mistakes, flaws. You could mean the best and still maybe mess up on verifying some form of information. There are also, out and out, perhaps malicious choices that are being made. And it all kind of just falls into one central place where people look at it and so much context gets lost.
Sure.
And sometimes it doesn't even matter.
You spoke on it a little bit, is this idea of misinformation. And when I was thinking about this concept of citizen journalism or documenting, is speed has played a major factor in this, right? So social media, and then on top of that, the smartphone. So I don't have to see something and then go back to my MySpace page or whatever.
Your MySpace page.
Exactly, right? And or a YouTube video, right? I don't have to wait to get to a PC to upload this. I can be live on the spot on reporting on something.
But that's objectively a good thing.
Yes.
Yes.
But the conundrum that I'm having troubles with is sometimes being first is more valuable than being right in some people's lenses.
I agree
And I
with
think
you.
that's when you get into this idea of, oh, you weren't right, but you were first, so therefore you got the attention.
Yeah. It's like you're first, so people will think you're right.
Sure.
And that's an issue. That's an issue.
So as we dive deeper into misinformation, where is things going wrong? Is it the idea that there's monetization behind attention? Is it just because of your speed? Go ahead.
A lot of it is digital. I mean, we look at what do algorithms prioritize? What do they feed you? If you click one thing, what are you going to see more of? And a lot of the times that does not factor into objective truth. That does not factor into exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It can often serve a purpose, be it, let's get them clicks, get them views, or, this is the ideology I'm selling you.
Why do you think these things, these news, whether it's an opinion or the actual coverage, spreads so fast when it's wrong?
I think if it's shocking, it'll spread.
Yeah.
If it's exciting, it'll spread. It's like when you build
That
a news
emotion.
rundown, which is, there's the saying, if it bleeds, it leads.
Okay.
It's like a magnification of a problem that's existed in news for years that has absolutely exploded, which is what's the most shocking, upsetting, emotional thing we can put in. And, that's how people get fatigued by scrolling. It's just like feeding into that emotive factor of what's going to get people's eyes to stay on this longer.
Obviously we've talked a lot about the downside of what this has been. What are some, I guess, pros that you've enjoyed through this citizen journalism / documentation?
I do want to call it more like documenting, and that can help. I mean, that has helped worldwide, especially in terms of people speaking out against oppressive regimes sometimes, or physical struggles even.
Yeah. The documenting, I do agree, is just so valuable. We get told a story from like the high level, and then you get this grassroots, I believe it's called, from someone that's actually on the ground in that place and so it's like, oh, okay, like this person's telling me the truth, right? And I started thinking about the 5 whys of like, why would this person lie to me? Do they have some type of,
what do they have to gain from lying to me?
And so after I get through that, and it's like, okay, I believe this source. And so I think that's one thing that's been so valuable. So I still watch these news outlets on the side, but I do kind of sometimes rely on something on my phone that can just get it
Well,
to me
because I want
sooner.
something specific, and it's
Yeah.
not necessarily on the screen at that
Sure.
moment. I mean, this was something I bristled against when I worked at a local news station.
Okay.
So at the time, it was a little older, and they were like, should we be posting more social video? And then,
What year was this?
let's say
Like early
15 years.
2000s? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like,
They were onto something.
like 2010, 2011, 2012, around there. They're like, no, they'll tune at 6. And it's just like, no, they're not. Technology moves very fast. We've talked about this before. Technology often moves faster than legislation, than verified journalism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So oftentimes that can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah. The speed is like we keep talking about the speed,
Speed versus accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you consume news, whether it's through an app, a particular social media site, how do you kind of vet your information? How do you know, like, okay, I believe this person or I believe this account, and I know not to believe X, Y, and Z accounts?
You need verified information or verifiable information.
Yeah.
Like if this says the mayor said blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
I need to be able to call an official source and verify that is what actually happened.
Is that what you do right now? Like,
That's what I did when I was covering news.
so, but
So right
as
now I'm in entertainment, so it's
Yeah.
slightly different, but it's kind of the same where I'll have to be like, hey, do you have a quote about blah, blah event?
Yeah.
And I have to give them a chance to respond.
What about as an average consumer?
What do you mean?
For me, if you were to give me a tip on, hey, you should believe these accounts because
You should
they're
see it
more
from
vetted
more
or-
than one source,
Okay.
whatever it is.
Okay.
And these need to be trusted sources, not a website that popped up yesterday,
Yeah.
not something with zero presence, not something with a clear slate and
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I'm being very careful with my wording,
Sure, that's perfect.
but it should be verifiable from more than one trusted source.
So I think what I would say is myself as the average consumer, I like to just make sure that they're entertaining both sides. As soon as it
See,
becomes
I don't think it's a both sides thing anymore.
Okay.
I think things have really become muddy over the years.
Sorry.
I don't think everything is a 50-50. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I guess my thing is, are they reporting this with their particular angle, or are they reporting it with my angle in mind as well?
Well, it's good to know
Yeah.
what your outlet, what their political leanings are. And you have to entertain, do I not like hearing this because I don't like hearing this? Or do I not like hearing this because it's not what happened?
Yeah.
Like you have to maybe look at yourself and realize, hey, I have a point of view. Is it necessarily correct in this moment?
As soon as you say this, as soon as I see that this person is being paid for this TikTok, I'm scrolling away. I'm gone.
Really?
I'm gone. I don't believe
like, I'm
whatever
not
you're
buying
selling or
this
anything. I'm gone.
Beauty product.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do it on the third try, but at the first time I won't do it.
As usual, the answer is not super easy and
Yeah.
not super clear.
If there was one message you wanted to get out about this idea of citizen journalism / documentation, what would it be?
Citizen journalism is important, but not everyone with a camera is a journalist.
Well, that is all we had for this episode for you guys today. Please let us know in the comments. Is citizen journalism the future, or are we losing too much by straying away from the traditional methods? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and subscribe to the channel and be sure to download Firefox because you know it's the best. We'll see you next time.